Saxman, Alaska, February 15, 1966. This tape is being prepared especially for the Alaska Native Brotherhood's Grand Camp. We do not have many people that can tell the history of our people from Tlingit, but I have here my mother, Bessie Denny, my father's name Henry Denny, and I was called Henry Denny Jr., I'm now known as Henry Denny. But however, we begin with our story from way back, as far back as we could remember, because these stories are not written like a white man's story. It's passed on from generation to generation. Now in our old times of our forefathers, they have times to tell stories. Certain time of the year, so they tell stories, but the time to tell stories is in February. The Indian call it Tlingit. That's February. You cannot do much outside. You cannot work much outside. So this is the time of the year they have talked so much about the histories. Now this is the time the chief of the clan, each clan, tell their own stories. Now, it has been a custom of our people that Ākhittaan, they tell their own stories, their own histories, they tell it to their children. So it's Ākhittaan, the uncle or the great-grandfathers or the grandfathers, they tell to their children, not their children, but their nephews, the stories of Ākhittaan. And the Kichnáalx, they had told their stories to their nephews and nieces, so they'll know their own side. It has been the custom of our people that it is not like a white man. A white man, his son takes over his wealth, and the history of his father goes to the son, to the firstborn. But the Indian way, our custom, from way back, the lineage goes onto the mother's side. A mother is an eagle, the boy and the daughter of that woman becomes an eagle. And so is on the opposite clan, where the grizzly bear, their nephews and nieces, they tell their stories to them. So it's known on the mother's side always. So is with Kichnáalx and so on and so forth. Now, this far I will go. I know a lot of these stories that Mom is about to tell, but I would rather that you hear from her. Talk a little bit, and I'll interpret to the best that I can interpret the Tlingit language and translate.
How? Teiyí Haji said what the Ākhittaan, Kawakey, aakhittaan, Kichnáalx, Ākhittaan, Ākhittaan, aakhittaan, Teiyí, aakhittaan, Lukaax.
It is so said that this is the way the story stands for us today. Now, the beginning time that Martha Buckety Quarter calls Ākhittaan, which is known as Bullhead Bay now, and behind it there's a mountain.
How? Aakhittaan, Daanawáaḳ, Ākhittaan, Teiyí, Kichnáalx.
This is the place where Daanawáaḳ, this the people had lived there beginning. The name of the place, Tlingit. Nu is a thing the Indians call Nu, is a fort that's sitting on sand.
Daanawáaḳ, Ya Ḳaajaaḳwtí na wat na got etu. Aakhittaan. Akoyeu dosa askutuan.
And then, when they had moved a little ways from there, they come to a place, a salmon stream. And this one they call Ākhittaan, a city under big trees.
Ya Aanx Ākhittaan. Dakhayata. Haa Shagóon awachun Lukaax. How? Hu chaya. Kuwatai. Akakunakchi. Yaduchune. Shuanachaya. Akakku dwashi. Ayu baby was out Sachanit Ayach Kichan Yuki. Atas Ykutk Ayu Sich. How?
At this time, well, they were in this Ākhittaan. That's the time this old man dreamed a dream about a bay. And he told them it smelled like a child. And they went look for that bay.
Dakhawatu yakuku. Yo docha. Akawa. Akakyo docha. Sheikh.
And from there on, they took him again to another place that he saw in his dream. When he got there, they found the place. They called it Ḥuéex.
Achawane khati aakhittaan atu Sheikh. Achayu yai tate dosak Sheikh yu aya dosak ne khati hini. Qas ayu akhya ayu akhtuqanni jin akhayu ne khati aakhittaan.
This stream had been known as the Sakai stream, and the נחתי had possessed the place from way back, even to the time the story came to.
Ya akhanqi atu נחתי aya khena yudosak.
The bay next to it, a little ways from Ḥuéex, we call it Rudyard Bay now.
Dakhawatu yawdocha. Aya akhanu aqitu. Aku nacht. Yudosa.
And then they took him from there again, and they took him to the next bay. A little ways from there again, going north, they call this one Kichnáalx, which is known as Walker's Cove now.
Dakhawatu yawdocha. Wekhatu chunikakaya. Ya kunakuk.
And from there they took him again. They are exploring the country according to this man's dream.
Yudosa ateu dochatu. To take credit ani ayu atu.
And then they took him again from there a little ways. They call that place Ḥuéex. It's the name of that place is Sycamore River now.
Dakhayu awatyatcha akakku doshi. Da suyu khis tenk anakhanao.
And when they brought him to this river, the mouth of this river, they have seen a great big hunks of foam that's coming out of the river.
Dakhayat akhukeyo docha. Ya awachuniye. Askusa awachudaya asak o awu akhaya yo dochat utayat chunach.
From there they took him again. They took him only to the places that, according to his dream, that he had dreamed, the shoreline and the places, and they took him clear up to Gunx.
Ayakaw ayo, Ḳuéex Tasa, Asiatu Chuni Aya, Aakhittaan.
There was nothing else to guide them at this time. The only thing that they're depending on him on is the old man's dream.
Ataya yeu tuasaya hin, utuachuni hin.
That's why they call this river Gunx. That's the place came to be through a dream. That's what they call it, Gunx.
Tlakshukwanach Yaa ahin ayayeu tuasa Gunx. How? Aniyate Yaa Yutaka. Taki kehin yu tuasa Aniyate Yaa Xuéex yu tuasa Yatuhuti Shachta. I take you heed what ayaye Kawakey. Aakhittaan. Nichi you dosa you ikki ahin. Aniyate awe. Tasihini. Yai dat kakya ikki ayatku waha. Aakhittaan te atuwakuch yayak tuasak yakat akawu wehin.
As we came along further down to Beam Canal, we have seen the different places again. We came right down to the place of darkness, which is known as Shrimp Bay. And there's an island there, and there's a stream on it, and it turns, and hot spring come out, and they call this place Ḳaajaaḳwtí. That is the place that is known as Bell Island Hot Springs now. They have a resort there now.
Utayat yat Ḳaajaaḳwtí asituqi. Anakhayasat kuxati that how ya to ya kot ya kat situ kat nakh ya to yes shakaqi how ya to yes ashakai kuti yake Akaawe ahasat kanin. Yes, Ḳoolteqwtí.
There's a lake up there ahead, and it's very large. And in there's a beautiful salmon stream there, and that's where the Yisbe people, Tlingit, had dried fish there.
Ayat. Ya iski nakhayatu awu aqi. Yes, aqi. Teiyí awu akua. What's tough?
There's two bays just south of Yes Bay. And the one they call Yes Teiyí, just a little ways from the small bay. And the next one is what's tough, that's the name of it, is Spacious Bay.
Which one they took was Ya kasuna awakak oye hasatane nitiye Łaxoot Kichnáalx.
Now, just south of the Spacious Bay, there's a point there. The people used to get their herring eggs from there, and they call that Kichnáalx.
Ya ikhaya au Ḥaajaaḥwtí. A little bit
a little ways from there south, and there's a sandy beach there. It's a place they had for camp, and they put up their winter food there. Now down south from there's a bay there they call Ḥaajaaḳwtí. That's the Port Stewart now.
Yat Ḥaajaaḳwtí Kichnáalx to take Teiyí Yaqi Aktu has asaptot Ḳaajaaḳwtí Akhawyan tachudak yakuksin hatak utsunatak utisatak sunatak hasuadik satin utiyan nakha na aati anistiti akhatatunisin.
From here, from south of Fort Stewart, they call that place Kichnáalx. Known as Helen Bay. And then from there on south, there's a place they call Ḳaajaaḳwtí, that is Commander now. And from there they go across to the point of a Betten Island, Ḥaajaaḳwtí. It's from there on, this land has been claimed by the Naha people.
Ākhittaan with hina nakek kawatatu Teiyí uwakaan.
And from there they go on between the islands. There's a place they call Teiyí, which is known now as Deep Bay, close to Lawrence.
Ākhittaan aakhittaan Kichnáalx asit nachyaakotnahes.
Just the mouth of the bay, there's an island there, very few trees on it. They call this there Kichnáalx. There's another fort there. Behind it now boats travel.
Ākhittaan na aakhittaan weqikate yakukukhut utewe awu e.
From here they go around a point and they go up the bay, and up the head of the bay there's rapids there.
Ākhittaan awa ikhnaakhat akhawat ya nakhat yan shukos khikhatyayi.
And from there on again went across again to the other side again.
And
from here there's another bay again. This name of this bay is Ḥaajaaḳwtí. It is known now as Trader's Cove. When you get up the head of the bay, there's rapids up the head of Trader's Cove. From here you go to the north side of it. There's a great big cliff there. In the tradition of the people in those times, they had believed that anyone is seriously ill, they take them to this here big cliff. And they talk to the cliff and tell their troubles. Just around a point from the bluff, the big cliff up the head, there's another rapids there. 3 of these bays has the rapids up the head of each one of them.
How ya that I did to ya kakitu kukuye aha kawaha.
We have now entered to the place again where there was darkness, where we had stopped here before.
How they to aya akhete kaktu atiyat kakit ya Ḳaajaaḳwtí yesi khaya awwaqi washta akhaya na atitenin akhatuni kin khatut aktakhat kuyau.
And now we come again to the place where there's darkness in the bay, and from there, from the mouth of Yes Bay on down, the Naha people had claimed it, where they had worked and put up food, the provisions.
Ayat yayitat ayeh kuyati takatye yatechki yat kanach Ḳaajaaḳwtí peshat ati utsa aya ati kudahechin akatunin atakatka.
Now these two bays, they had named no owner to these bays, the port steward, Kichnáalx, and Helen Bay. But however, they have come in and out through there, they have hunted and put food and get the provisions in these places.
Utayat yat Ḳaajaaḳwtí cooked Utasatak to na cook yat na atiya na cook.
From Ḳaajaaḳwtí, that is Cape Camano. From there they cross Steam Canal and go across to Point Higgins. And the boat that's there when they're going to Naha.
Haye ayaw to school yat ya Aanx asai akhawet Kichnáalx has chatting ya Kichnáalx akhawata ya hin khatini ayiko kuti ya awuchekhin atatiye to sa Ḳuéex.
From here on, they go on south to the narrows known as Tongass Narrows, and they come into this place known as Ķechikan. And there they claimed, the Haa people had claimed this Ķechikan Creek. And there up in the creek they had built this great totem for which they named Ķechikan.
Aya achiyayi that tested Ḳaajaaḳwtí Kichnáalx utsai you Kichtáalx nakanata he nachas outsa.
That's why now the white man didn't have much difficulty to name the place Ķechikan. Now the place where they had built this great totem is right up there by the Ķechikan Hotel where the bridge is. The name of this little hill, they call it Kichnáalx, where they had built this great totem. Now, the Ķechikan Creek flowed under this river that is built over the creek. They call this creek coming out from under the wing, Kichnáalx. That is the original name, Kichnáalx. The white man could only pronounce it Ķechikan. February 22, 1966, Saxon, Alaska. Bessie Denny and Henry Denny will begin to work again on this tape.
How? Ay, that they thought kuwaha katsaniki. Aya ahat kuun tuyan natkya na askutuan. Aya akat kuun. Aya yitat yat askutuan hasa utak ayat utekiksati ayikusti chukukeyaki. Atak ayat ahasa yak ustakasut at. Yaqi. You take it ku ayawu sakutat. Ḳaajaaḳwtí ahin. Shwahin yuhasawasa.
Now we come to the place again where they lived in at Ţaskatuan, which is known as Kichnáalx Cove now. And this is the place where the people dwelt, all three clans. Now these are the same people called Ţaajaaḳwtí, the Frog clan. They had separated the first creek, the river, out toward the mouth of the bay.
Ţaajaaḳwtí kakushtakhasetaat. Ayayat Ṭakutkutí. Shwahineti yuhashutsa.
And when they had separated in this bay, they had separated, and the same clan, the Frog clan, Ţaajaaḳwtí, they had bared a little different name. The one outside the bay, the first bay out, they call themselves Ţaajaaḳwtí.
Atakhayatu aniyatea ki to akawa to Ḳoqxati.
The next bay, from there going toward the head, there was another bay. There was still Ţaajaaḳwtí, the Frog clan, and this bay became their bay.
So ya takhaweki ata weqaka takheki yahi kuat ya Ḳaajaaḳwtí.
And from the first river outside toward the mouth of the bay, it takes them about a day's journey in a slow canoe to this next bay.
Akwaye hasawasa atahin atati Ķaajaaḳwtí you dosa atati.
From in the day's journey, they make to the head of the bay, the main river, head of the Bucket de Quadra. And there the man bear the name of this man was Ķaajaaḳwtí. That's the Frog clan's name.
Aya atahin takhaya kuxtesu akhasat qaniyete awu hastu hitke atakhaya ya qat hiniken qatin aya ya ti akikaka wahaye nu.
There they go out, they move around in the bay, and they move out into the outer bay where there's a lake. There's dry fish there.
Ayayat tu akatuqaniki yakuwusku. Ya akak yihusa ya a.
It is while they're drying fish there. Must have been when they were having drying fish there. When the flood came upon the earth, and when the tide went out, the whale was in the lake when the tide went out.
Kuchte tu tatiyu ya. Oteshi nik nachayu kwak. Ayu takka nachayu. Eskateu kwak.
When the tide went so low that the whale could not get out in a narrow little river there, so it went over the point from there, back away from the creek.
Hatuyai tatu awu yuyai anahu kwakiye.
Still today, there is a gap there over the point where the whale went out to the sea.
Ha'achayatu Ķoqxati aya Ķoqxati aakhittaan.
And so it came to pass that the whole bay was claimed by the Ķoqxati, the Frog clan.
Ayat yai tatya Atko tutiti haye aya kawaha. Aya tusi kosa nexati chaya. Ya nexati te wukut atun. Aya kuch aya yet wasak Ḥuéex.
The name of this mountain, they call it Ḥuéex.
Kesh akakhkawuta an kasaku atak ayawu nixana kwan.
At the time the world flood, this mountain was not covered by tide, and this is the place where the Daanawáax had survived.
Aya aakhittaan yetwasak Ḥaajaaḳwtí.
This man, while he went up hunting there, that fell off of the mountain, his name is Ḥaajaaḳwtí.
Aya tuta yata kutkitka tuta hu aya atkauchi. Ya tuta yetwasak Ḥuéex.
Now this man that fell off of the mountain, his mother is one that composed the song the time she was in sorrow, and the name of this woman is Kawakey.
Ya tu qachi tu ta ya khanana ya Teiyí naxati akhtuut sakahe wa tekashe akhitke atutenes pekun isate nakhtuti niya ai Sudat kakhrisatu ushket khaisa na ancestral iyex anqaw fieta ine ya ai.
This is the song that was composed. Just a little explanation here, the meaning of these songs. This is one of the songs that had been sung at the time when the chief of any clan, a chief of the clan, gives a party, a big pottage, a big feast. This is the kind of song that at the memorial dance, this is the kind of song that is used at the memorial dance of a chief. When a pottage, a big feast is given in memory of the dead, that's when the chief and his sisters, they sing these songs, so that the dance is different than any kind of dance. We call it memorial dance.
Aya tesku take khasuti ya naki khatena khasati ya kiksati tachkhank.
This is the reason why they got along real good. These people that met the accident here had been the grandchild of Kichnáalx.
Yat an Ḥuéex teshkan Ḥaajaaḳwtí has uwakaan.
These people, they had never intermarried with outside people other than the three clans themselves, the Kichnáalx, Tlingit, and Lḳoot.
Ahas you take an Ḥaajaaḳwtí Tlingit ka Lḳoot ka Kichnáalx ye aya hatiyatki asayat oate Ḳaajaaḳwtí.
The reason why these people are so much like one family, one people, They had never married any other than their own, the three clans. Here are the names of the places where they had been putting up food for themselves. There is a fort on the end of a sand beach. This is the one they call Weir, the bullhead fort. The little bay in there, where they call the Bullhead Bay. There's an island outside, a little ways, and this island too, people had lived on it. This one, they call it a fort on a point, Ḳaajaaḳwtí. From here, on a shoreline, from here clean down to Cape Fox. It is from here, any time the great-grandfather of the Lಖoot and Ţaaqwtí is going to travel along, they too go along with him. Here, a ways down a plain from their winter place there, Ākhittaan. From there down, approximately 10 miles, the shoreline, is a bay. They call the name Ākhittaan. It is known as Weir Inlet. And up ahead of the bay, there's rapids in there. Just the mouth of the Weir Inlet, there is a fort there they call it Wainanu, just on the south side of the entrance to Weir Inlet. From here on out to Cape Fox, by the lighthouse, Cape Fox, there's names they bear names all along the shore there, different places. A little ways south, and a little ways in the foggy bay, there's an anchorage there. They call it Teiyí. Teiyí is what they call pitch that grow in dead spruce. Most loggers find it in streak of a log where a pitch accumulates in there, and these are the things these people had carried along with them when they go on camping, because there was no coal oil or anything, but it is easy to start fire with this pitch. That's what they call Teiyí. And this is a place where there was tremendous amount of pitch trees in there, and they call it Teiyí. Ways out from ahead of this bay, there's another anchorage there. They call it Ţawanchíqe. Just around a point from Foggy Point, they call it Ānixaku. Ḥaq is a place they call a sandy beach, a beautiful sandy beach.
Aya aakhittaan yaatan Łaxakutsaku haktakhiate. Saqaskayetat neye. Ayatak ayu tuasa.
It is from this sand beach along a line around 5 miles south. Along the shoreline there's a point there. It's a lot of boulders there, and they put up seaweed there for food. The name of this place is called Boulder Point. Teiyí.
Kia naha awayu tuasa. Saqakta.
A ways from down there, a mile or so down there, there's another place where they had camp, and they call it Tlingit. Tlingit is the thing they call the grass you see grow in the bottom. It's green. Now that's the name of it, Tlingit. There's so much of it there, right back of it. They named the place after it, Tlingit.
Kia nahat atawan awe. Ḥat atsa akha atuya wus.
A ways from down there, a few miles, there's an island there. There's a hole right through the island. And they call this name, the island, a hole through an island. That's what the translation. Just to the outside, to the west of this island, there's a rock. Well, to the people it floats.
Aakhittaan Łaxakútí.
At low tide, the ground swells break off it. But however, at low tide, the rock does not show.
Ayayat, Aanx tanyat.
Now at this time, the story ends at Cape Fox, and it's coming back again to the procession back home.
Ya Haa Shagóon, Haa Shagóon City.
This is their clan. Their clan is Ḥicht, a frog.
Aya kakanen etiak afikal sekatiu aka kekatkwans.
At just about the time of the setting of the sun, the frogs come up on the lake.
Atakatete hasat achti aya hastusak ochtiti.
They make all kinds of noises on the lake, and their names are created from the sound of the frogs. This is one of them, the chief's name of this Kichnáalx, Haa, recognized by a voice. This other one named Shuk. The name from the frog, it's a Shuk, it means it's a laugh. This is why they had claimed as a clan, the frog and the raven. They make totem out of frog as their clan. They make a board, a white board is made, and on it is a drawing, the picture of their clan. And this man, an old man, chief, his name was called Ḥoiq. This is the third of their clan, is Bullhead. His name was Sintin, a name from Yeats. This, I would interpret this way: he hides things. The other house that the Kichnáalx claimed is the one they call Kichnáalx. I would add to the story now, Kichnáalx. Now, just about the place where this floating rock is, there's a natural gap or a hole in a rock, a great pocket underneath, that a hole on top. When the heavy groundswell rises, coming in from ocean through Dixon entrance. Now, when the big groundswell come and hit the mouth of this great cave like in the water, with a small hole on top, which I imagine is not more than 2 feet. However, when the groundswell come and hit the mouth of this cave in the water, it causes a pressure to accumulate inside. The combustion that comes into the cave that pushes a strong pressure. The groundswell causes a strong pressure that blows up into the air. The time it goes 60, 70 feet when the old times will see it. And sometimes a small piece of sticks, logs, get into the place and it blows it up in the air. This is what they call Kichnáalx. I would interpret this way: it blows the sea. This is the reason why they have many different types of the totem. One, they call Haines, is a wide board, as I explained it a while ago. And so, even in this place, in this town, in Saxman here, there's one board called Haines. At that time, here in Saxon, we're doing a potlatch years back. They created one of these boards, and they draw the picture of raven on it, and they call it Teiyí. Teiyí is, a raven had grown a family. And so ends the story thus far concerning the Kichnáalx. And now we have returned again to the story of the name they call Ḥoiex, which is called the Sakai Creek in Buckety Quadra. And this is the happening to the Kichnáalx, the Frog clan. They have had a medicine man, white men call an Indian doctor. At this old time, there were many giant animals and fish at the mouth of the bay.
Ix'ix. Hestu tuauj koye Teiyí aakhittaan.
This medicine man, he did not like to see the appearance of these big giant animals in the bay, and he wanted to destroy them.
Uyayaki aye kaktusin.
Even today, it will be noticeable on the north side of the Ḥaajaaḳwtí Creek, at the cliff. This medicine man, he has a cane. With this cane, he had took and thrown them up in the woods with his cane. The big animals up the woods in his cane. The first of the giants, he had took the stick and thrown the great big octopus up the woods. There, it petrified. Next came the porcupine. As he threw them up in the wood with his stick, it petrified into rock again. Next was a land otter, a giant land otter. When he threw it up in the woods with his cane, it petrified also to a rock. The name of this here Indian doctor named Kichnáalx. This is the story, the history of this man named, Indian doctor named Kichnáalx. This is the history that had been told, passed on down to us. From the beginning of time, this place, they have possessed it. The name of it is Łaxkótán, the city under a big tree. And its addition to this story is Łaxkót. This is the story begins now. And at the time they took this old man that had a dream, a previous story, that he went along with the people. When they came to this bay, they had awakened him to see if he can identify this place. And he had smelt the place. It smelled like a child in the morning. There's two of this river had joined together. One, the river named Teiyí, would interpret this, it's a slow-flowing river. This other one, they called Nantachun Khan. It's a straight up inland.
Aya akuya uyuka. Tusi washa yuka.
And up in this place where a man was living and his daughter was married.
Akai tu sati ayawus kayuka kestin. Nakakut ata sakachak.
At this time, this man told his wife that he would go and hunt with his dogs that he may secure any kind of animal for food.
Aya akhya nakutiukut kiyi et kach na teyukut.
As he was journeying through the woods at the foot of a mountain, it is quite a distance from the salt water.
Ayuhid kina nata yihid kina ayukati amu.
And up on a hillside from Ţnaṭayihin, there's a landslide there.
Ayaya tukhet ak ashat ayut ak sahat ashat.
When he came there, he heard his dogs were barking. And they were barking and looking on the land, right on the ground. That's where they were barking.
Askut akhant kut ay festa sa ayukhet chale atkuti festa sa.
He has thoroughly examined the ground where these dogs were barking on the ground. There was absolutely nothing there.
Ye ayaha iddutak. Ayut kutku ayuhas ashayukhet.
This is the way the history had been told to us. The dogs were barking right down onto the mud.
Akawe austin wekat.
At this time, this hunter had seen
Aweket kay aktunak kiuni tusha.
At the time the dog was barking, the head of this thing appeared.
So we chat adachios kutu sakat itesh unakut tis sakat ayutuchi.
At this time there was no such thing as a rifle or a gun, but all they used was a spear, and he has stuck the spear down into the ground.
Yahin kinakutia awe awachak yasnata ihin kinakutia awachak we chat.
At the top of the mountain above Shdeen Hít, that's where he had killed the halibut.
Aanx ayacha tushat Kszhaāākhwtí uxtakeyu chat.
When he had brought this halibut home, he had presented the whole halibut to his father-in-law.
Aqayeha intutak. Lukaax, Kszhaāākhwtí, you to see Kszhaāākhwtí.
At this time, the history had been told that this man had made a great feast for this great fish that his son-in-law had killed for him. At this time, that his original name he had put up. At this time, this man, his name appeared to be Ksztúin. Now, this Ksztúin, I would interpret this way. When one had killed an animal or fish or someone, they always say, I have killed it for you, so you can eat. And this man, he had brought up this name. He called himself Shdeen. He got this name because his son-in-law had killed this great fish for him. Even today, we still have the name amongst us. This name the man called himself with. And from there on they have traveled together and mixed together in small canoes. And those that are close relatives, they had hunted, they were close together. There are two bays and two rivers that were close together. One is they call Kichnáalx, and the other one Ḳoéex, up toward the Beam Canal, inside Beam Canal. One is called now Wretched Bay, and the other one is called Ţíketx. And now we will begin on the island side, which is known as Rebelligigido Island. From way back in the history, the people used to live there to put up their food supply from these places. They call it Ţakuhín, and it's known as Lucky Cove now. And so, there's other places where they used to go and put up all sorts of food from the beach and up in the woods, and they used to put up food on these places. There, from this Ţakuhín, we travel going up Beam Canal along the island side. On a point, Alava, there's a little island there, and people used to camp there, putting up food, seaweed, seafood of all sorts of things, and up in the woods. And there, a point next, right where you're going to Beam Canal, they call this place Aakhittaan. That means a deep, it drops off fast and it's awfully deep there. And above there, there's another quick little stream above. There in Alava Bay, there's a stream there where they used to put up some dried fish from there. And the name of this place they call Łatkatatu's, that is in Alava Bay. From there you go along the shoreline, going up the Beam Canal, and there is an island. On the outside end, there's a camp, and one on the inside.
Ayayi dat Ḳaajaaḳwtí ayaye dosaak. Nextinx ye dosaak 야aqwtí Tlíaaq ayatuyaqi awu atesu.
And the name of this island, it is known now as Rudyard Island, and from the along the shoreline there is another bay there.
Awu ayaqi Utakukanke נחתיאן aya hinsaita ye dosaak.
And you canvass this bay, you're going on the left-hand side of the Beam Canal, going up the canal. The name of this place now is Princess Bay, and this is the place where they originally claimed.
Ayaqi Ḳaajaaḳwtí aya awu Ṭuṭeqat. Nakhit akatutex akonexate. Aqshqesesata me yetutaku dakha. Ayetwasak Ḳaajaaḳwtí.
Out the mouth of this bay, Princess Bay, on the north side of it, it's a big island, sits about almost in the middle of Beam Canal. They have 3 locations there where they used to camp to put up food from way back in the history. This one is called Smeaton Island in English. Name was known as John Mackay. He had worked these streams up the head, getting animals such as beaver. From there, he became rich.
Atakhaya tutat au tota kuyahu tihuati ka tuatuni akai Ḳu.éex. Yayi dat attuku ayu qatatinin ak iketi Ḳaajaaḳwtí.
This man has quite a history, Lukaax. He had worked streams and up the head, and in those days, bear hide was very costly, and so is beaver.
Yayi datawa yataka kutukawaha yakakht ashakatea nekhatak atuniye.
Now it is in a history along the shoreline from Smeaton Island up the shoreline.
Aya awu anakhutqat yahin tunqehini ayikawa wet katsi huhina nakhutwakuk yututakhain.
And along the shoreline from Smeaton Island, there's a stream there, it's a waterfall there, and they call it Tunqehini, it's a lizard stream. And in this place, where water bubbles up from there like soda, they call it soda springs.
Akhaye dosak to take utotaku ki awutu akho aya yayi dat atku wahawutu sai Lukaax.
Another bay. The name of this place is Tlingit, but it's called, in English, they call it Sergeant Bay.
Aye ayayadhu watad ya nekhati akhasatuniya ye ayatutakun hain.
This is how the story ends now. And to this bay, that's where they claimed the place to hunt and to make living.
Atko yahinako yet wasak what katan Aya atakaya yanante to take credit on Ləxoot.
There's a little stream a little ways from Rudyard Bay on the mainland shore. We call it Łatqatlan. And from here, the Grizzly Bear people, Ţeqhuetí, they had claimed this land.
Tk'eakhyanante Ķeq'akhunacheye aya awa ya Kichnáalx yutosak Ṭeqhuetí ane yu aya tutak.
And this, as the history goes, along the shoreline on the mainland shore, there is a bay which is not far from Rudyard Bay. We call it Kichnáalx. The name of that place is Walker's Cove.
Atakaya Ķeq'akhwtí atiuya kukhkun kuskhitsan kutiyat ane aya yaqi kawo.
In this bay, people had never traveled at night because of the giants of fish and different giants that had occupied this bay.
Ayet wasa kuyat kutiyat qik'is takakuwahin.
In the bay, left-hand side going up Walker's Cove, where a giant animal had lived in a bay. It's a high bluff from way up on top. It's long ways up, many, many feet there, high.
You ataya kutiyat Ktutlex kutin. Atu q'eeyati.
In this bay lived a giant rat. In this big cliff lived a big giant rat.
Anakekakun ayu. Ayat kutakau unayaktu akhnistut Ķaajaaḳwtí.
When this giant rat surfaced and it pushes his tail on the top of the water, it sounds as a big cannon roar.
Atadiyate awe awuhin anakhekawata.
Up toward the head of the bay, there's a stream there.
Kichnáalx yu ayu tuasa yuhin.
And the name of this place is Kichnáalx.
Aya akutuatak ya kanashkute atkatko.
And this is where the history begins about the Grizzly Bear clan. A young boy, a youth, a very poor one.
Ataynakhaya tuatin. Akhasudaknaus ka thakteya kunahene.
He alone was with his grandmother, and toward the winter, the people had deserted them at this place.
Ayaye tutak. Tingit tuik atsau tunik ya atkatko.
As the history goes, that his luck had turned toward him, this young boy.
Tu asaya, tu takachi, tu toti at ayita kwachi, akisana ya atasutu sik, yoya tutak.
As the history goes, during a big feast, before they left the place there, when a guest is seated, he never reaches out for any of the food that's being passed out until it's placed in their hand. But however, this old grandmother was a little bit over anxious, and they were passing this food to the one sitting next to her, and she reached out when it was not hers. That for that reason, the chief of the clan had deserted them there. And so, when the luck turned to this young man, he became famous Indian doctor, and he became wealthy. At the time when this spirit began upon him, it has names of the places where he had been. And there's a big flat rock laying on the flats of this river. And when the spirit came upon him, they took him away and took him up to the face of a great mountain back of this here stream. And there was only one tree that grew out on the face of a big bluff. And this is where the young man had came to. After the young man came to, hanging on the cliff, he was brought down to the sea level again on the flats of this Kichnáalx, the name of this place. A big flat rock. This is where he came to again. From here he went back to his camp again, to his grandmother. And when he came back to the camp, he found there was a big house there built for them at night. And so, the following night, he told his grandmother to build some food containers out of the small little fragments of the bark that was left at the camp, which was useless. But she shaped them into food containers. I would put it this way, in size, they're about 30 inch by 30 inches, about 30 inches high. They vary in sizes. She made small, tied together with strings, but however the miracle goes, the night you find that they had a whole bunch of these food containers. He told his grandmother to be ready tomorrow night, for there are things to happen.
Aya Ţaút tu Tlingit Łakłatyaakaw.
His grandmother asked him, who is going to beat the drum?
Ayu tu Ţaxan Ḳoyeeyausqa. Ţawa qiqat Isha Łakłatyaақwtí wegaw tu Aanx.
He told his grandmother, it will be tied into your hair, the sound of the drum. You are going to beat the drum, he told his grandmother.
Adach ya kakashqit ayu atku wahade yutat atkhahasuqhan qiqwati yityo yatutak.
And so, as the history goes, as the dawn begins, that food is coming to them, and they were to be ready for the great miracle to happen.
Yutat awa atku waha yekuwat iqatuchit awatan tu tachkhana ha tu taka isakushanago.
It was customary for one to lead in song to carry a long stick, and that you beat the time with it as you sing. And he gave the long stick to his grandmother.
Atkuha awa wetu tachkan koa hesh awus kututu at aweshi atati awustak.
And when time came, the young man, he gets into the spirit. He does not know what goes on at the present. But the grandmother had tended to the song that she was singing on this great miracle taking place.
Ya tu ayashis has ashis tu asin ya ich.
And this is the song that the young man and his grandmother were singing during the time of this miracle taking place.
Aya yashi aya kan shin da saat shukot Ḳuéex aya Tlngit shukana Ţaxútawaat.
Now, the story goes, as this song continues, while the boy was in spirit, the grandmother working according to instructions, whatever words that come into this song, that's the animals that enters into the house through the door.
Aniyate ikawanewaat achukot Ḳuéex.
After grizzly bear came black bear.
Uya tek shia sakanashini da achukot Ḳuéex. Hu awa ayai tato chanu awanewaat.
And so, as the song goes, when they come to the name of mountain goat, they enter. And so enters the deer. And so comes the beaver.
It's Lukaax.
And so comes the groundhog. And in comes porcupine. And the last comes in the ptarmigan. And so as the story goes, this is the way it was being told to us. It's been passed down from generation to generation. This land, the Great Łakaskov, had been claimed and owned by our fathers, Ťaaqwtí. There's no other land that we had claimed.
You thought that you you to curse at those
It was not until after the middle of the year, towards spring, that when the chief, began to run low on food, he had sent his slave to look upon the old lady and the young man that he had deserted. And then, when they came, the slave and his wife went to look upon the young man and his grandmother. When they approached the campsite, to their surprise, there was a great big building there. It was built there.
Ḥuéix hít Ḥaajaaḳwtí
And when the slave and his wife approached the house, the campsite, he landed on the beach, and the owner of the house, which is now the young man that's been deserted, he invited the slave